Hi everyone, I'm Meredith, and listen, I'm just a girl stuck in my apartment looking for someone, anyone to talk to. So I found some people. My guest today is Sara Cooper. Sara's a musical theater writer and an adjunct faculty member at the Graduate Musical Theater Writing Program at NYU. Now, although we've all been without theater, concerts, and other forms of live entertainment for some time, and we really don't know when any of that's coming back, here's something to look forward to. Sara's been using this unexpected, seemingly endless amount of extra time to create. So even if that process of doing so has vastly changed over the last 6 months, there's likely some amazing work coming down the pipeline. And that's what Sara and I are going to talk about. But before we do, don't forget, like and subscribe to the Let's Talk About It YouTube channel. I don't want you missing any of the new episodes and videos that come out. So go ahead, Sara and I will wait. Did you do it? Great. Let's get started. Sara, welcome. Let's talk about it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
So we're talking theater, or rather the lack thereof. What's that all been like for you as a writer during the pandemic?
It's sad, right? It's pretty sad to watch. Obviously, like, the world is just a sad place right now, and theater's pretty quiet right now. But I will say the one little silver lining for me is I've had a lot of time to write, so I've been really amping up my body of work, which has been really great.
What were you working on in musical theater when the pandemic hit?
Right before the pandemic, one of my collaborators, Lynn Schenkel, and our piece Hot was selected to be in the Johnny Mercer Writers Grove at Goodspeed Musicals in Connecticut. So we spent 2 weeks up there, doing a second draft of our show, and it was fantastic. We got so much done. We're ready to get this produced, and then pandemic, right? So, but we did get a really, what I think is a really solid second draft. So that was such a gift. And then when things come back, I hope that that'll have a life. Goodspeed had us on a video thing. We presented a couple of songs from the show. New York Theater Barn had us do some work in their new work series, because we were supposed to present a big chunk of the show in their new work series in an actual theater. But we got to do it online. That was also wonderful. So the theaters have been so generous with letting us use their space, without space.
So shutdown begins. In what ways has musical theater writing changed for you since the pandemic began?
So Lynn and I are working on 2 shows right now in different stages. So that show Hot, we haven't really been working too much on that during the pandemic. For the other show we're working on, which is called Perpetual Sunshine and the Ghost Girls, it had been more of an idea, and now it started taking form. NAMS did this really great thing where they had a 15-minute musical contest. So it was okay, let's actually throw together. We've been talking about this for so long. I had written some stuff, but we didn't have much of a thing. Lynn's okay, let's write a big chunk of it because we have a deadline now. So we got a whole bunch. We got our stuff together. We wrote this 2-minute chunk, and we actually won that. We were one of the winners, so that's been.
Congratulations!
Thank you. So that's been very exciting. So that got us sort of chugging forward in that show.
We've all had so much more extra time on our hands. Has the pandemic in this way been almost a gift for you as a writer?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because when Lynn and I were up at Goodspeed and before this all happened, we were oh man, I wish we could have this all the time. I wish we had just the space, weeks at a time to just write. And you get what you wish for, I suppose.
Or
the monkey's clock.
Or 6 months.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, and counting. But so it has been wonderful to have the time, and I have gotten so much work done. It's been really, really, again, a treasure that I will never get again. However, we also I and we as writers, I think, see the bottleneck ahead of us, because theaters have had to push their seasons back, and then there's going to be things that we're going to get developed are going to be next in the pipeline. So anything that we write now is maybe years out, where it might have been okay, let's finish the draft and get a reading or workshop, and it's okay, maybe that'll happen in a few months, and now it's maybe that'll happen in a few years. So that's the other side of that, I think.
What role do you think not being in person for rehearsals and then performances plays in the creative process for you?
Also during the pandemic, I sort of started what I hope will be a theater company, which I've just been using to teach. It's called Delphi. So I've been teaching some writing classes over the summer, but I'm hoping that will allow me to sort of self-produce in a way that I haven't done for many years, but just to get some kind of readings going or something. Because I think we're all kind of thinking in those ways, right, in theater. How can we get work to happen in a new way, and in a way that won't block us for another couple of years.
But what's it been like collaborating and even rehearsing with actors solely over Zoom?
I mean, that's what I miss the most, right? Because I love, like, what I love most of musical theater is the collaboration, finding those, like, the special collaborators who can make, that you trust their vision, they trust theirs, and you make something that neither of you could make alone, or that none of you, in the case of, like, once you bring actors and directors and designers. And that's, like, my favorite part of it. So it's, like, it's sad. It's, like, just me in a vacuum in a way that, like, novelists do that, but, like, theater writers are usually, like, more collaborative, right? So I really do miss that aspect. Kira and I are actually having just a table read, like a closed thing for ourselves here, this first draft we wrote over the summer of our show Built for this. And so I'm really curious what that'll be. We have some very generous actors who've agreed to do a Zoom reading with us. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be great for us. I hope it'll be fun for the actors. I think it'll be kind of weird to not be in the room. I don't know what that's going to feel like.
You're also a musical theater writing teacher at NYU in Purchase here in the city. In what ways has that all changed since the pandemic began? And what changes have the programs implemented now for the fall?
I will say, like, of the theater arts, like, because I teach at the graduate musical theater writing program at NYU and at the playwriting and screenwriting program at Purchase. So those particular departments, fortunately, writers have it, like, the least bad in that way in terms of teaching. I suppose, like, actors or dancers who, like, really struggle to get together. And both those schools have managed to, I think, make it really good for students, all things considered. My programs have been really great, in my opinion, at doing that. But it certainly was a struggle, and I think it's been hard on the students, it's been hard on us, just getting everything, like, I mean, so I guess when we went in the spring, when we first went online, there was sort of, like, no chance to prepare. That was kind of like, what are we all doing? So it was kind of like, let's try to do it the same way and see how it happens. And that was okay. But this semester has actually been great so far because we've had the summer to figure it out. And like I said, I was teaching for my own, like, my own little private lessons for, like, in small group classes for New Delphi over the summer. So I kind of, like, figured out some tricks of, like, how to use video better, like how to get better at Zoom. And actually, it's been I kind of like being able to see everybody's faces closer. You can share your screens, so we're staying in the environment. You can see everybody's scripts very closely. I do miss writing things down on people's papers. Like, that's the one thing I'm figuring out how to do very well. Like, I mean, I can send them stuff after, but I like in the classroom, like, I like to be jotting notes on their papers, and then we can, like, have them, like, it's harder to guide a conversation when you're all reading the same page and you can't be writing down on it, But it's still been really fun. And one thing that I actually really, really like is these breakout rooms, right, for teaching, because before it was like, please go to different corners of the room if I want them to do group work, right. Which it often is because it's collaborative, especially at Purchase. But the breakout rooms have been great for, like, sending off students to do, like, writing exercises. At NYU, it's not the same kind of thing because we're all able to be there in one space, but it's been great for my undergrads at Purchase.
Have you been able to attend any socially distant performances?
I have. I've been going to, like, I've gone to a bunch of friends' things. Like, I've gone to some concerts, and I've gone to a bunch of the New York series stuff at New York Theater Barn. It's not the same thing, but I love it. I haven't seen anything in person yet, but I would really like to. I'm like all for going somewhere outside as long as it's safe for the actors. Like, I'd love to. I don't know how, like, musical theater is going to work for a while because of the singing, but I would. Yeah, a friend of mine in Denver my friend Cole Schneider has a theater group called Handsome Little Devils with her husband and some of their friends and etc. And they just did a show outside that I saw pictures of online, which looked fantastic. And I really admire theater companies. They're trying to be innovative in that way. And I hope we all can figure out. I'm a little worried as the weather gets cooler, like, how that's going to work. But maybe there'll be heat lamps. I don't know. It seems very possible to me.
Absolutely. Do you have any ideas for the best ways to bring live theater back?
I mean, I think, like, outdoors seems like the future to me. I mean, like, Lynn and I have talked, Lynn Schenkel and I have talked about our show Hot, which is it's like a feminist adaptation of Helen of Troy, and it takes place, like, on a cliff, basically. Okay. And so we've imagined it sort of, like, outside in front of some water somewhere, but I don't know how. That's like a pipe dream. I have no idea how we'd actually do that. And we have no actual, like, we have not done anything besides sort of daydream about that. But I would hope that site-specific theater takes some kind of new meaning on. I think there are places. I don't know enough about acoustics to know how it would work, but I feel like there must be ways to make outdoor spaces work so that everybody's distanced enough that, like, we can all hear but not be close to each other. The actors stuff seems like the hardest step of step. I would never try something that I would think was putting the actors at risk, and I hope other people wouldn't also.
Right. How and when do you see theater actually coming back inside the theater?
I don't see how it's going to happen for quite some time. I wish it would. I maybe plays. I don't know how musical theater is going to work inside for a while. Don't you think? I mean,
Yeah, the closest talk is early next year, and at this point, that doesn't even seem very promising.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look good to me either. I was actually, my boyfriend and I were visiting my parents, like very distanced yesterday. They live out on Long Island, and we, like, from across a 12-foot expanse, my father was like, "What if people put on like fish bowls?" And I was like, maybe there's something that I don't know. Maybe there is some kind of apparatus that we can discover. I feel like nobody's really wanting to put money into it because it seems like this is always about to disappear. But then I don't know that it actually is. You know what I mean? Because even when audiences are like allowed to sit in the space again, like how soon are people be comfortable doing it, even if it seems okay? I don't know. I hope that like I think that it'll come back sooner than we hope, but I think we need to be making adjustments, and I hope that I know the theaters will, and I hope that there's like the money to make it all happen so that smaller theaters can do it too.
How has the pandemic influenced the themes of your writing?
I have always written sort of dark-ish material. I actually have, yeah, but this is gonna be want to write something like a comedy next. I don't know if I will or not, but like I'm itching for something a little lighter. I think it's like the world is such a like, and not just the pandemic. Obviously, we're just in like the worst timeline. I don't know. Like I would love if there's like, and not like goofy comedy. Like I think some dark comedy would be great next for me to write, but also stuff that I want to see. Like I hope there's some like humor and lightness out there, like discussing maybe what's happening in the world, but like in a way that we can like heal and also take action rather than sort of like just be sad. The show that Lynn and I had been talking about that we actually are now like full on writing, Perpetual Sunshine and the Ghost Girls, is actually about a public health crisis also. So we it's about like the radiation poisoning that happened to a bunch of women who worked in factories in the 1920s, and like about how these women like stood up and went after labor laws and actually won, and somehow we don't hear about it. But this pandemic has and also just like how workers are being treated in the course of pandemic. Those themes were already in our show, so it's sort of like lit a fire under us to really like bring those out in the piece.
Have you translated your writing into any other mediums since the pandemic began?
So I just started working on like TV stuff. Like I've been writing, I have like 2 TV pilots I've been sort of kicking around, and one of them, like right at the beginning of the, I can't remember if it was like right before the pandemic or during the pandemic, I found out that it won an award, and that thank you. It's Brainstorm Media, their Bolt competition. My pilot called Pollyanna won their contest, and they're going to shoot it when we're allowed to shoot things again. So that's like another thing where it's like, this is so wonderful. Oh, I hope this really happens, because how are they going to ever shoot anything again? But they're awesome, so hopefully it'll work out.
What, do they have any idea of the timeline?
No, they very smartly were like, hey, let's focus on rewrites right now. So that's where we are now.
So all this talk of what you've been working on, it leaves me actually so excited for what potentially is coming down the line from you and other writers. Hopefully this is something to look forward to.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, I hope so too. And I also think it's going to shift theater and allow people to like do like lower budget stuff soon, which I am so excited for it. I'm so excited for it. Like I watch all the beautiful work that my students make, and I'm like, somebody put this up, and it's just theater has become so expensive. Like my hope is that this will shift that dynamic so that like more work is getting seen, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're looking on the bright side. That's what we have.
We have to.
Sara, thank you so much for joining me. Before we go, don't forget, like and subscribe to the Let's Talk About It YouTube channel. This has been Let's Talk About It. We'll talk to you next time.